Fred Hyatt, one reason we wanted to talk to you today was because of the extraordinary Washington Post editorial board interview with Mr. Trump, and it caused quite a stir, raising questions about his grasp of a lot of different issues. What were your immediate reactions?
Well, one of the things we did ask him about was the impression we have that he's been condoning violence at his rallies, and we pressed him pretty hard on that. And he just kept coming back and saying that the protesters were bad people. And we said, well, but when you offer to pay the legal bills of somebody who's punched somebody at your rally, isn't that condoning? And it was hard to actually get a straight answer.
And in fact, Michael Hayden, former CIA director, former NSA director, was on Morning Joe today. I was on with him, and he was asked by Joe, given what you know now, based on the Washington Post editorial board and everything else, I suppose, given what you know now, whom would you support in a general election, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton? This was his response.
I will keep my vote private. Simply saying there are a lot of reasons to vote for someone. In the very narrow lane which I have been asked about, in the narrow national security lane, at this moment, Secretary Clinton is better prepared to handle those issues.
So let's talk about...
So that's pretty extraordinary, Chris Lizzie. He's a lifelong Republican and he has certainly been a conservative on a lot of these issues. But he says he would support Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump on national security alone.
Right, and remember, Andrea, it's this same month, earlier this month, when dozens of conservative foreign policy experts signed a letter saying that they simply did not believe that Donald Trump had the depth of knowledge to serve as the Republican nominee or as president. You know, I just think this gets into the question of Corey Lewandowski gets into a broader judgment call here. Susan said you've never seen anything like it. I totally agree with her. And if we had, I can guarantee you that the campaign manager would not be the campaign manager or affiliated with the campaign by the end of today. I don't think anyone thought that would be the way Donald Trump would react. As you read that tweet, he is now essentially saying the tapes show nothing. Well, what the tapes show is Corey Lewandowski grabbing Breitbart reporter Michelle Fields. Corey tweeted and said publicly many times that, in fact, did not happen. He had never touched her. That obviously is no longer the case. That is proven to be false. So whatever you think of the charge against Mr. Lewandowski or how that's going to end up, to have the person who is the head of your staff, the person charged with helping to elect Donald Trump, mainly charged with it, saying one thing and disparaging a reporter, and I would say my colleague Ben Terrace, who was an eyewitness to it as well, and then being proven to be incorrect, lying about that, I think is a serious moment.
And Susan, John Weaver, who works for John Kasich, has tweeted, "Campaigns reflect the values of the candidate. I know ours does. If this bully worked for John Kasich, he would have been fired long ago."
Yeah, so we'll see. Now, Donald Trump's style has not been to fire people or to apologize or to back down, but to double down. And you know, he may do that in this case. But it does raise an issue about the way your campaign behaves, the tone that's taken at some of these rallies that have raised concerns, and kind of the nature of the interaction with the news media as well, because he was grabbing a reporter who was trying to ask Donald Trump a question.
Fred Hyatt, you spent a lot of time with Donald Trump at this editorial board. What kind of response did you get to these kinds of questions?
Well, you know, I do give him credit for coming in. We've been very critical of him, Andrea, as you know, and he came in and spent an hour with us. But when he left, we felt that the risks of electing him president were no less than what we had feared before he came in. And that was based both on the level of knowledge and some of the opinions he expressed, which seemed very sincere about what the U.S. role should be in the world.
And we just got a statement from the attorney for Corey Lewandowski. Mr. Lewandowski was issued a notice to appear and given a court date. He was not arrested. Mr. Lewandowski is absolutely innocent of this charge. He will enter a plea of not guilty and looks forward to his day in court. He is completely confident he will be exonerated. Mr. Lewandowski is represented by Scott Richardson of the law office of Scott N. Richardson in West Palm Beach and Kendall Coffey of Coffey Burlington in Miami. Inquiries to be directed to Mr. Richardson's office. So thank you all very much, Fred Hyatt and, of course, Chris Alyssa and Susan Page. And coming up,